Shabbat Shalom. This week's Parsha, Parshat Miketz, tells the story of the first assimilated Jew, Joseph. We pick up the Joseph narrative while he is in prison, and Pharaoh dreams his two famous dreams, and no one can give the proper interpretation until the cupbearer remembers Joseph in prison. Joseph is brought before Pharaoh. He interprets Pharaoh's dreams correctly, and Joseph is appointed the number 2 person in all of Egypt. And once this happens, Joseph becomes, for all intents and purposes, a complete Egyptian. He takes an Egyptian name, he speaks the Egyptian language, he marries an Egyptian woman who is of the aristocracy of Egypt. He looks, he talks, he walks, everything about him is Egyptian. His wife gives him 2 sons. The first son, Joseph names Menashe. Menashe means he who causes to forget. And apparently the earliest meaning of the name Menashe was used very much like we use Menachem today, as a comfort after a personal tragedy. And scholars tell us that when parents lost a child and subsequently had another son, the name Menashe was used as a way to help them forget the earlier tragedy. But Joseph names his firstborn Menashe not because Menashe causes him to forget a personal tragedy of the loss of a child, but the Torah tells us that Menashe causes Joseph to forget the troubles of his childhood. And the choice of that name shows just how far Joseph has tried to go to erase his Israelite origins and blend in entirely into Egyptian culture. The name of his son is he who causes me to forget my father's house. And yet, when Joseph's brothers come to Egypt in order to procure food against the famine, Joseph remembers who he is. And in spite of looking like an Egyptian and talking like an Egyptian and being an Egyptian, he immediately embraces the core of his soul, which is Jewish, which is Israelite. And he embraces his brothers. And when he reveals himself, he weeps from the depths of his soul. Parshat Miketz is always read on the Shabbat of Hanukkah. And it seems to me it's not an accident that the story of the first assimilated Jew, remembering the core of his being, which is intensely Jewish, the story of Hanukkah is the same. In a period in the 2nd century before the Common Era, when Jews were embracing Hellenistic culture and looking Greek and dressing Greek and talking Greek and trying to be Greek in all matters, that like Joseph, Matityahu came to a moment where he remembered that the core of every Jew is pure and faithful. And that's the message of Hanukkah. That's who we are. And when we kindle those lights of Hanukkah, we are bringing out the light of the Jewish soul which resides in each and every Jew, no matter how assimilated. And that's the story of Joseph, the story of every Jew. May you have a happy Hanukkah. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom and a Zis and Shabbos.